Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Wednesday morning, guys. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Wednesday morning, guys. So I want to talk to you guys about a couple of different things. We'll see where the direction goes, but I want to speak to you guys about the importance of creating this space in order to hear from God, in order to receive your downloads. I want to speak to you guys about surrender. I spoke about that in my last recording, but just kind of from a different perspective, as well as I don't know. It was three things, but again, we'll see where it goes. So first thing, all right, so I had someone to email me sometime last week in regards to what does creating that space to hear from God looks like. Well, creating that space can literally look different for everybody because we all have different lifestyles, right? So you may be a person who is extremely busy. You could have 9 children and a husband. So the time you get up and get your day started, you're getting the husband off to work, you're getting the kids off to school, etc., etc. So it's time you get finished with everything, you're just kind of like, woo, and then you're off to work more than likely. So it's like, then you get home, you cook, you get the kids, all this stuff. Where's the time? Where's the time to hear from God? Or somebody like myself who don't have children, but I have a very, very busy lifestyle, right? So not only do I have a busy lifestyle as far as work is concerned, but as well as purpose is concerned. So many times I have people pulling at me all throughout the day. Everyone wants my energy. They want my time. They want this, right? And I'm blessed, don't get me wrong. And I'm grateful, don't get me wrong. But if you don't create an intentional space, you're going to miss your downloads. So you have to get with God. You have to partner with God to ask God, what is quiet time for me? And so you're going to feel it pressing more than ever for some of you right now. God is calling you to an intentional time to hear from him. Actually, that third thing is coming up now. This is why some of you you're being pressed right now to eat more clean, eat more healthy. Not speaking weight-wise. I'm sure that's a benefit too, but more so less of, some of the foods that we eat, there's toxins in the food, right? There's toxin in the food, but the spirit is pure. So some of you are being called to, it could be a whole fast, not a whole fast, a whole food regimen right now. It could be fasting. It can be just upping your water game to flush out the toxins. It can be a gut cleanse. It can be nature. For me, it's nature. Actually, as I'm talking to you guys now, I'm sitting in my truck. I'm about to do my 2-mile nature walk trail. So it's nature. And nature can look like a lot of things. Nature can look like sitting in your backyard. If your backyard looks like a forest like mine do, right? Nature could look like going on the park and just chilling with the birds and the squirrel. Whatever nature looks like for you. God is going to... trying to hide my other phone. Hopefully, I threw it in the third row. Hopefully, it helps. But God is going to really start pressing upon a lot of you to create an environment, let it be a physical place or just with internally a physical, pure place for you to receive your downloads. So if you have that busy life with children, etc., then God may He may give you a revelation to start getting up an hour early. So if you already know you're pressed for time, then this is where sacrifice comes in. This is where discipline comes in. You get up an hour early before hubby rises, before the children rises, right? Get up and put that time in with God, because you're going to get some good downloads. Because a lot of the times we keep waiting on a person, or you're trying to run your pastors down, or your bishops down, or your whoever down, and you're asking them for revelation. Like, I just need to hear from God. I need to hear from God. But listen, when you can start hearing from God for yourself, and don't get it twisted. Now, there's times you need to go for wise counsel, etc., etc. But when you can get in a posture where you can hear from God yourself, most times, the people seeds, planting seeds. That was the third. That was actually the third thing. I want to speak about that and how it operates in my life. Everybody's different, but I just want to give an example on how it operates in my life. So most time when you tap in spiritually, right, people are going to most times be your confirmation versus revelation. At least for me, I probably can, if I'm honest, I don't, I'm sure, but I can't think of one time where a person was my revelation. People are typically my confirmation to what I already receive in the spiritual realm. So yeah, just create that space where God can come in here and give you your clean, clear, pure downloads. He has to get certain things to you. Why wouldn't? It's for kingdom. So why wouldn't he want to give it to you? He needs to give you these downloads, but you got to be in a posture to receive your downloads. So ask God, just ask God, what it is do I need to do? What do I need to do to create a stillness, a safe place, a quiet peace? What do I need to do in order to receive? Also for me, which is just natural at this point, I travel in solitude. This can be just randomly around town, or this can be if I'm traveling. I can be on a 9-hour trip. 90% of the time I'm driving in silence. People think I'm insane, right? Right. But trust me, that 10% when I'm finished with turning up, right? But 90% of the time I'm in solitude. You got to quiet your mind, especially when you have an extremely busy life where you have a lot of people pulling from you. You got to create that space. Next thing, some of you got, okay, surrender. As far as the surrender recording that I posted, I think maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I think, that was more so less about surrendering the promise, taking your hands up off whatever the thing you're struggling with, is that back and forth, that tug of war feel. Just surrender, take your hands up off of it and just give it to God. Because we say all the time, I just give it to God. And 5 minutes later, we're right back trying to put our hands in it, right? So yeah, that remains, and even still now. But right now, I'm also speaking about there's a surrender in your spirit when it comes down to things that used to really, really worry you. These could be your children. These can be those of you worrying about your business, or you're worrying about if a certain person is going to act right in a relationship, or even a marriage, or just anything that you're worried about, your ministry, anything that you're worried about. These things used to keep you awake at night. But there's something in your spirit now where you just feel so free, and you truly, these things don't tug at you anymore. Well, that's God also coming in, because he knows he's trying to get certain downloads to you, right? So there's a spiritual thing going on now where he's really giving you grace in those areas where you're not stressed out and you're not worried about typical things that you typically worry about that would really keep your mind pinging all day. It's truly a surrender, even with the things that used to really worry you. Now there's a grace where you're really trusting God fully. So that's where a lot of you guys are experiencing this freedom. I've been reading some of your emails. There's a freedom where you're just not as full of anxiety currently, and hopefully not again. What was the other thing? Oh, planting seeds. Okay, so again, I've been very transparent about, I'm not the person who ties like that, if you will, if I'm honest. But planting seeds have always been my thing. All of my life, if I'm honest, I can really think back. I may not have articulated it as planting seeds way back then, but it's just, I'm just a natural giver, especially more than anything when I hear conviction to do so, or just from empathy, a place of empathy, right? So again, I didn't articulate it as planting seeds, but I do know that God have always just listen, y'all. I'm about to get out this truck, right? I'm about to start walking. So listen, just bear with your girl, please. One phone, I threw the other phone in the third row. That one have silence. Now this crazy one here is going off. And this second phone don't even ring like that. This is why I use the second phone with my recordings. But anyway, so anybody who knows me knows that I've always been blessed. But I think people don't, well, most do. They know me, then they know how I operate. They know I help a lot of people. But the point I'm trying to make is when you're planting seeds, it's like, first of all, it's reciprocity, but it's also like a Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel, the big, yeah, that's the Ferris wheel, the big one in the fair that goes around. It's like when you plant seeds, it's just, it just comes back to you, right? Then when somebody plant a seed in you, then you take and plant a seed into somebody, it's like a Ferris wheel. It's like a Ferris wheel. And it's almost like you would never get off of that Ferris wheel. It's like the seeds just keep going around. And the seeds is not always even financial, right? The seed is not always financial. So on that Ferris wheel, in one seat you got financial, right? On one seat you got breakthrough. On one seat you got peace. One seat you got evolution, etc., 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 etc. So as this big Ferris wheel keeps turning, nothing ever falls off. Nothing ever falls off. It just keeps turning, and you keep growing and evolving. You go from glory to glory, etc., etc., right? So, I'll give you an example. And how I'm thinking about this now, because I read an email from one of my good sis a few minutes ago. So let's take Pastor R.C. Blix for an example, since so many of you are here from Pastor R.C. Blix. Every time I plant a seed within, and this is not always financial, right? Just, well, I was about to say just a portrait. I planted that seed, and that wasn't even a seed, if you will, like I'm going to plant a seed. That was just a conviction that I was obedient to follow something that God needed to do. And I guess you can still consider that to be a seed, I guess. But it's like each time I plant a seed in whatever way, there's something that breaks off of me each time. Something breaks off of me, and then I'm able to receive certain things more. For example, I struggled immensely with understanding the Bible. I'm a spiritual download person. Give it to me in the spiritual room, I catch it, boom. It is. And I get confirmation from people, or just confirmation what I feel in my spirit, etc., etc. But reading the Bible to try to understand it was literally like hooked on phonics. It didn't make sense to me. All these names, and am I supposed to be reading from front to back? Is it like a story from beginning to the end? Nothing would make sense. And now when I read that word, and not to sit here and say I'm no Bible scholar, let me be clear about that, right? But the point is, I now receive clear as day what it is that the Spirit needs me to receive in that moment. So I can't sit here and quote Bible stories to you, but what I can tell you is that when I just open there's no particular story, unless I'm spiritually led to a story, that's different. But typically I just open up the Bible, and whatever it is I read is total confirmation of everything that I already received in the spiritual downloads, but it gives more insight, and it adds more and even more revelation. So that's an example of how you can plant a seed, but then there's something else that breaks off of the other person, and then it attaches itself to you. So each time it's something that breaks off, and I get freed from my own limited mindset, and it opens my mind up to be able to receive even more. The things that would typically spiritually make you afraid to dream that big, it's freeing. Right? It's freeing. So when you're planting seeds, it's not so much like I'm going to plant $10 just to get $20 back. Child, this thing is so much deeper than that. If that's how you're planting, please keep your money. Don't you plant a seed in nobody's life. If you're saying I'm going to plant $50 to get $100 back, child, please, you'll be broke for the rest of your life with that mindset. So a good sister of mine, she may comment, but you don't, sis, please don't, right, if you don't want to. I'm trying to make a point here. So I planted a seed And so she typically, I think the enemy will have her thinking like, because she can't plant a financial seed, right? Or she may not be able to bless me financially, and she needs help from me at times. If you're not careful, the enemy will try to get in your head to make you think like, because you can't give that same thing in return, it makes you less than. And in fact, most time it makes you more than. Because when I plant a spiritual seed, let's just say something she needs, when I plant a spiritual seed, I'm not even looking for anything. I'm just going by the fact that, first and foremost, I already hear God clear as day to tell me to help her in this area, right? I already hear it most times before she even comes at me with it. God already give it to me, and I'm just in a posture now to hear from her, which typically happens that way. But every single time I plant a seed, when she returns an email, first of all, with just her constant gratitude, right? The Spirit gives her something to give to me. I don't even be looking for it. I mean, I don't even expect it, I should say. Because I'm not looking for anything. Here you go, sis. God bless you. Right? I already know God got whatever he's going to do on the back end. But when she hits me back, it'll be this paragraph. And that paragraph will be completely loaded with confirmations. And these confirmations will be things that I've already received confirmation on. But it's still, you know, those little one or two things that still like you need like 37 confirmations on, right? But when she confirms it, boom, it's like there's something in the spiritual realm where this is complete confirmation. Don't ask me again. This is confirmation, period. So you see how when you're planting seeds, it's like a partnership almost. So you bless somebody and then they bless you back, but it's typically almost never the way that you bless them or how you plant the seed. Sometimes it could be. Or you could plant a seed in a complete stranger's life. You could stop and give a homeless person $20 at the and before you know it, you get a whole what is it called when you go from like from staff to manage, what is it called when you get like a job from staff and you go from just your regular cashier to running the store? You get in I don't know, an advancement. I don't know. Just all because you planted a seed, but you did it intentionally. You weren't thinking when you gave this homeless person $20 that, okay, I'm going to give you $20. God is going to bless me with. It's like, no, you just move accordingly. You move accordingly and let God do what he do. And again, if you're moving from it in that posture, you're going to really block your blessing because you're planting with the wrong intentions. So planting seeds is just really about being able to tap into something, and there's something within that. And this is why you got to be very careful where you plant your seeds, right? You just can't be planting seeds with anybody. Let me just tell you, right? Because you mess around and manifest the wrong spirits. You got to be very careful on when you're where, and make sure that it's spirit led on where you're planting your seeds. So I wanted to share that because someone asked me about that too. They were struggling with the seed planting as well as tithing. I couldn't give a lot of information on tithing because I know the Bible, I don't think is mandatory from my understanding, but I got to be honest, I can't tell you a lot about tithes, but planting seeds is something I've done all of my life. And I know that's why God have blessed me in so many ways. I wanted to share that. Have a great one.